Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, July 4th. Over the next few days, we will continue to have gusty winds and low relative humidity over southern areas. Today, winds will be enhanced with gusts in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range in the south with relative humidity below 10 to 12%. On Wednesday, the stronger winds will be pushed a little bit further south with just some gusty winds in the very far south near the border of southwest area. And then on Thursday, winds pick back up again and may even be a little bit stronger than what we'll see today. So definitely some gusty winds and drier conditions in the south. And then thunderstorms will be decreased in coverage from what we saw yesterday in the north. However, may start picking up later in the week. By Thursday, we'll likely see a little bit more coverage Thursday and Friday over northern areas. Again, these will be a mix of wet and dry, mostly on the wetter side with higher humidities. Some areas will see over 1/10 of an inch of rainfall. Over the last 24 hours, we saw scattered thunderstorms over much of the northern half of Utah into Wyoming and southeast Idaho, with more isolated activity further north and west. These thunderstorms were definitely on the wetter side, especially for northern Utah, where we saw anywhere from a few hundredths of an inch of precipitation to over 1/10 or 15 hundredths of an inch. The Great Basin fire activity has definitely picked up with the addition of lightning and the drier conditions and hotter temperatures. We did have 15 reported new fires, but for less than 4 acres. Over the last 7 to 14 days, precipitation continues over the northern half of the geographic area with thunderstorms, although we have seen some drier conditions recently with a decrease in lightning activity. The southern half of the geographic area remains dry and warm with periods of gusty winds. Our fuels are in various states of curing still across the Great Basin, but ERCs are on the rise really in all areas. They're only approaching normal or at normal in the far south. Otherwise, ERCs are still below normal. The grasses are in various states of curing as well, with the hotter and drier conditions, especially in western and in some northern areas. Again, we're still seeing a mix of brown, purple, and green with respect to the grass on the hills. However, as days go on, we will continue to see drier conditions, and we will see those fuels continue to cure at the lower elevations. Down in the far south, fuels are really just critical in the lower elevations. The satellite loop from this morning shows a trough of low pressure moving across the northern area, now pushing into the northern Rockies and the northern plains. So this will push much of the lightning activity that we saw yesterday a little bit further east with more isolated activity today. You can see some cloud cover from northeast Nevada into northern Utah and southern Wyoming. So again, this will be the focus of where we'll see those isolated storms today. Looking at the weather pattern again for later today, you can see that trough continues to move off to the east. This will bring some cooler temperatures today to northern areas, but still warm. But again, at least a drop several degrees in what we've been seeing up north with still some isolated thunderstorms. Significant fire potential still remains low over the northern half of the area and low to moderate over southern areas. We do have high risk today for those gusty winds and dry conditions in the far south. So the main concern still would be the lower elevation grasses if we do get starts as those winds pick up. Relative humidity today, again, will be below 10% across most of the southern areas and in the 10 to 15% range further north, with the exception of parts of Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah that are still seeing some lingering moisture with those isolated thunderstorms today. You can see the gusty winds over southern areas with southwest winds gusting in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. And so again, these winds, we do have high risk for those with the lower relative humidities. As we move into Wednesday, this trough pushes further east, so we will see a decrease in wind in most areas and drier conditions, so still more on the isolated side with lightning activity and anywhere we don't see these super dry relative humidities aloft. So we do not have any high risk for Wednesday, as the winds again will be on the decrease, but still low to moderate fire potential in the south and continued drying of the fuels further north. So definitely a lot more yellow on the map, and that will continue over the next 7 days. Relative humidity remains unchanged in the south and gets a little bit drier over the rest of western and northern Nevada up into southwest Idaho, where some relative humidities will drop below 10%. Again, the winds will be backing off with the stronger gusts pushed to the south, so no high risk for Wednesday, but still light to moderate winds will continue with those moderate winds in the south. On Thursday, we will see another trough of low pressure move into the northwest coast, so this will be helping to kick those winds up again in southern areas with continued low relative humidity, and also start to increase that lightning coverage again to parts of Idaho and Wyoming. So a little bit more yellow on the map for southwest and south central Idaho that might not see some of that moisture or the lightning activity on Thursday. And again, we did add high risk again for Thursday as those winds return and likely will be a little bit stronger than what we'll see today. So relative humidity, again below 10% across much of Nevada and Utah, and in the teens up north into Idaho. And you can see where those gusty southwest winds will be picking up again on Thursday, with more gusts in the 35 to 40 or even 45 mile per hour range. Looking at our temperatures, we will see that cooling today up north into Idaho, lingering somewhat into Wednesday before conditions heat up again as that trough pushes off to the east by Thursday, Friday. Further south, little changes in temperatures, just some minor fluctuations, but still hot temperatures will continue across much of Nevada, Utah, and the Arizona Strip. 3-day precipitation, very isolated thunderstorms, so we will see very light precipitation. However, much of the GAC will remain dry. As we move into the weekend, we will see this presence of the West Coast trough, so that will keep moisture and thunderstorm potential over the northern third of the area and drier conditions down south. No high risk, but we will see the brown on the map and the yellow definitely spread north as we go through the weekend into next week. Again, hot temperatures and low relative humidity. Saturday, very similar picture. And Sunday, similar picture, although that dryness does get pushed a little bit further north, but still some isolated thunderstorms into parts of central Idaho. And you can see on our significant fire potential, we're seeing a lot more brown on the map for the southern half of the Great Basin, even pushing up into northeast Utah. And then by Monday, generally drier conditions overall. Could see some moisture in the southwest with some thunderstorm activity, but it does not look like any of this will push its way north into the Great Basin at this time. 7-day total precip, really not much different than the 3-day, a little bit more accumulation up north into Idaho and Wyoming where we see those daily thunderstorms, especially later this week going into the early part of the weekend. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from July 11th through the 17th, still shows hot and drier conditions. The monsoon certainly does not look like it'll be starting and at least not pushing up into the Great Basin at least through the third week in July. So definitely a significant delay there for the Great Basin for moisture with the monsoon. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.